Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Florida. And today our question comes to us from Spooky Puff. And Spooky Puff has this question. Spooky Puff tells us that she has an ancestor who worked as a medium. And she is aware of this woman in her family tree, but does not know her actual name. And she is wondering if it is possible to establish a relationship with an ancestor whose name you do not in fact know, and whether tarot readings can be helpful in this pursuit. And my answer to this begins by pointing out that when we do any kind of spirit messaging, we must remember that the messenger can always warp the message. Therefore, it's very important to keep your hopes or fears or expectations or judgments out of the messages that you bring through. You can analyze them afterwards and bring all of this in then, but not while you're doing it. So whatever form of communication you end up using, make sure that you keep judgment and expectation out of it, and you'll find this will be very helpful. Can you establish a relationship with an ancestor whose name you do not know? Absolutely. And people do it all the time in many societies where ancestor veneration is a long tradition. There are many times where the exact ancestors' names may not be known because they're very far back in the ancestry, and they are kind of addressed in common as the ancestors. And it is also possible to address an ancestor by a detail other than their name, such as the fact of having been a medium. My ancestor, the medium, for example. Or by other things that you may happen to know about this ancestor, if in fact there's anything else you know. More may come through communication. Absolutely, you can establish a relationship with an ancestor without knowing their name, and this is not even particularly untraditional in societies which practice ancestor veneration. Having said that, it is entirely possible you might receive a name from the ancestor as you work with them. But again, you must bear in mind that the messenger can warp the message, and you should regard that as being the name that you're given to use, but it may or may not have been their actual name in life. That can only be found out through things such as genealogy. And I would recommend using things such as genealogy to try to find out more about this person, because I'm sure there would be a record, but you would have to do the work to find them. And again, it's not necessary to establish the relationship, but it can be a good thing to do. Now, how do you establish that relationship with this particular ancestor the same way you would with any other? Things I would recommend is to have an ancestor altar, perhaps to have something which represents this particular ancestor on that altar, to light candles as an offering of light frequently, to speak to the ancestors as if you were in their presence, to offer prayer, to sit for messages from them, and we talk about how to do that in other vlogs if you want to search the archives, or perhaps we'll do another vlog about that here in the near future. These are things I would recommend. Could you use tarot cards to get information about this ancestor? Absolutely. It is one of many forms of divination you could use. I personally think the easiest thing is simply to learn how to bring through the messages. But here again, you have to be very wary of the extent to which your hopes and fears can warp those messages, and you really have to make an effort to remain neutral when you bring through information. But this is true with tarot cards as well, or any other form of divination. Certainly, tarot cards are one way that you could find out more about the ancestor and connect with the ancestor, but so are dreams, and you might ask for the ancestor to send you dreams. Any form of divination could be helpful, but I think the best thing is simply to light a candle for them, offer a prayer, and connect with them. And I think this will be an excellent way to establish that bond, and by doing this on a regular basis, that bond will grow stronger and you will receive the information without necessarily even having to do a great deal. As the bond grows stronger, the ancestor will naturally tend to come to you and interact with you. And this is what ancestor veneration is all about. And again, you don't have to know their name to address them, as long as you know something about them that you can use. In this case, that she was a medium. So this would be my answer. I hope you find it helpful, and until next time, may you blessed be. The Tarot of Hecate. My 100-card tarot deck, 30 years in the making, finally available to you from witchschoolstore.com. Check out a copy today.